Water. Both humans and plants need it to survive, and it's been an important part of each of the gardens I've visited. But today I'm visiting a garden which owes its very existence to a remarkable source of water. I'm here in the town of Glastonbury in Somerset. Now, it's a place I normally associate with pop concerts, a place where people pay good money to get dirty in muddy fields. It's not the type of place I expect to find a spiritual garden. But tucked away at the foot of Glastonbury Tor is the Chalice well, a natural spring which has flowed from the hillside here for thousands of years. It's been a place of pilgrimage for Druids, pagans, Christians. Even King Arthur is reputed to have come here. My guides to the garden are husband and wife team Michael and Lynn Orchard, who've been the guardians of the well for the last 3 years.
It is part of the myth of Chalice Well, but when Jesus died, it is thought that Joseph of Arimathea came here and he brought with him the 2 cruets of the blood and the sweat of Christ, and also the chalice from the Last Supper. And they were buried in the well, behind the well, and that from there flowed the red spring.
And as a garden, it's very much an English garden, isn't it?
In the late 1950s, there wasn't much of a garden here. We had some of the existing trees, but the structure that you see now was created very much like a cottage garden, and friends and companions brought along plants from their gardens. They went in, and a rather unplanned, informal planting took place. Nowadays, we're working with it a little bit more consciously, and we're trying to create a mixture of formal, informal, and natural.
We listen to the plants as well. I mean, the gardeners will talk to you, and they'll tell you that they always talk to the plants before they move them to a new setting, and they actually have a relationship with the plant itself.
And the tree we're standing underneath here, it's full of ribbons and pieces of material that have been tied to it.
Well, that's connected to the goddess tradition. Really, it's to the feminine, because Chalice Well is thought of as being a feminine place, and people come here to tie the ribbons as blessings, to give thanks. One of the things about sacred springs were that in the ancient times people would tie just bits of rag, of cloth, and they would tie them over the wells, and they would leave them there as an offering, that the disease or the illness that they have, that as the ribbons are sort of blown in the breeze, then the disease and the illness blows away with them.
No one really knows. Despite modern science, no one has ever found the source of this water. But we can be fairly sure it comes from somewhere very deep underground, because it has a continuous flow. It never fails, whether we have a drought or a wet year. So it's probably a deep underground lake, somewhere perhaps even as far away as Wales.
Now, it's turning this stone a very strange, rusty red colour.
Sure is.
What's it going to do to the inside of my stomach if I drink it?
That's quite safe, indeed. What we recommend is that you drink a glass or 2 a day. But as with all healing springs, healing water, it's meant to be taken a little bit at a time to nourish you, to heal you, to restore you.
Well, your good health.
Cheers.
It is very refreshing. You're a firm believer in the power of this place, aren't you?
Yes, I suppose you could say I'm a firm believer. I believe only because I've seen my prayers answered. Perhaps not always in the way I expected them to be answered, but they have been answered, and usually within a very short space of time.
So how does that make you feel?
Makes me feel fantastic. There's a place I can come to and tap into, and yes, and feel very peaceful.
It's very impressive to see a whole garden laid out purely for people to come, either individually or as a small group, to spend some time with themselves. And as I look around, everywhere there are people just sitting there, meditating. And they're not embarrassed or shy about it. It's really nice, and it does make you feel relaxed.
One of the things that is quite different being here is that we're one of the few gardeners who have to beware meditators, you know, as we go along.
So
You know?
no heavy machinery out.
No heavy machinery. As soon as people come in at 10 o'clock, you know, we try and get it all done beforehand, so it's quiet. It's not always the case. Sometimes we have to be a bit more noisy. One of the things that we share is what's known as a holistic worldview. And what that means is that we look at life and the universe and everything that we do and everything that is on the earth as a unity. So therefore, when you garden in a sacred manner, you try to acknowledge that there's no separation between the gardener and the garden. So that what's happening here as I plant, planting is happening. You know, that it's a co-creative act. A lot of people say I've got the best job in the world, and I can't think of a better one, but somebody's got to do it, you know, so it might as well be me.
The garden today in Glastonbury was a fantastic place because it was a place that you went into and, well, lots of people went into it and they leave the world behind and it becomes something very personal for them. And also the fact that it has these healing powers for an awful lot of people, that's very powerful. And to see so many people just using it in a solitary way was really, really good. I also loved meeting Ark there because he talked about the garden and the gardener being a combined thing. They weren't separate entities and they worked together. It wasn't so much man controlling nature, it was man working with nature to create something very beautiful that a lot of people appreciated. It is about people, it's less about design, it's more about people and how they use gardens and how it can bring them to the very core of themselves and renew them and give them a new energy to go back and face life again. So it's been a lesson in how special and how necessary a garden is, and it's shown me why people have always created gardens.